Yo, it's your boy Opally, and today we're just gonna be doing yet another My Hero What If. This is what if Deku had bionics. This would pretty much all start off with Deku leaving his. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so this will all start off with Deku leaving his school, but an earthquake happens and a beam falls on his arm. So now the principal pretty much comes out the principal's room. The police gets called, ambulance are called, and it pretty much gets chopped up as Deku will never use his arm again. His father pretty much won't let that happen. So, while he's unconscious, he would sneak him out the hospital and pretty much have him in his basement, which, Deku does not know of at this point. And, we pretty much have him in there, and Deku would be basically given bionics. He would have a chip pretty much implanted into his neck, giving him super speed, super strength, and super intelligence. Since his arm is all fucked up, he would get that fixed too, and that would give him basically a key blast and a regular okay arm. Once Deku wakes up hours later, he would see his father sitting at the computer typing. Once he does get there, he would ask his father what's going on, how's my arm, okay? And basically, he would just tell him to act like he was throwing a ball. And he would say, yeah, real funny, I can't throw a ball. And he would just say, just try to do it. And Deku would try to do a ball throwing motion. And once he does, a ball of plasma would basically come out, and it's green. And he's like, what? I have a quirk? He says, no, you have something better. You have bionics. You have super speed, super strength, super intelligence, and, the blast. And Deku, this pretty much happens at the age of 12. So he has pretty much 12 till 14. So he has 2 years to train for the UA entrance exam. And when he trains pretty good. He pretty much trains in all types of defensive martial arts and offensive martial arts. He just trains in a whole bunch of martial arts. And he even lifts weights so he's pretty much training harder than most people because, he is still at a disadvantage of having people who trained way longer than him. But no, since he has bionics, he wouldn't have limitations, so he would just fuck shit up. Except for, having to sleep and eat and all that stuff, still being a human. So Deku would pretty much never meet the slut villain because that was the day it was supposed to happen, but 2 years earlier. So he would never really meet the slut villain, and if he did, he would just body it. So he doesn't meet All Might, and he doesn't get One for All. So Deku would basically go to the UA entrance exam, pretty much acing the test. Even some people would think he would be cheating. And, he would just have an intelligence quirk. And that's what he would tell people. And once he does get to the explanation for the practical exam, when he was muttering a bit, he is a rich family because it's Davenport we're talking about here. So yeah. So Deku would pretty much be muttering, and Ida would pretty much tell him to shut up. And that's when Deku would look up, and that's when Ida would notice who he was talking to, and Deku would just look at him and said, nah, and just walk away. and pretty much go to the practical exam. He wouldn't trip, so he wouldn't meet Uraraka. So Deku would pretty much be at the practical exam, stretching, pretty much having confidence. He's not nervous, and as if Ida pretty much paying attention to him because he didn't obey Ida. So he's pretty much paying attention to him. And now he sees him being calm. So he said, "Oh, is he really that powerful, or is he just a stuck-up bum?" So when pretty much when they say, "Oh, there's no countdown for a battle, so go." And no, he pretty much speeds off faster than Ida. No, so he pretty much using breeze powers, and he would pretty much be just going so fast at this point. He don't even have to use any strength. He's just going so fast that he can just run through them. So he's just running through robots at this point, and just like, bro, he has a super speed quirk. And others would be like, what? I thought he had a intelligence quirk. So people would be confused. Then when he would stop the speed for like a couple of seconds, he would have super strength. They're like, what? And over the 2-year time period, he would be able to have force fields and voice manipulation and laser eyes. So he would pretty much get those two. Those are unlockable abilities. And he would use laser eyes, and he would pretty much jump and use laser eyes and pretty much split a 3-pointer in half. And everybody's like, what is his quirk? And Deku is just bodying these robots, and he's just really good at what he does. So at least some people think that he has an Omni quirk, when you can just think of something that you want to think of a power that you want, and he has it. But no, he doesn't really have that. He just has bionics. And Deku would just be bodying. He would kick a robot right in its head, and it would literally fly back. So, with him having a good amount of points, at least like 80 something, he would have a good 87 points, and he would hear a 0-pointer, and he says, well, I know doesn't give no points, but I already been flashy this whole time, so I might as well just beat up this robot too. And that's when the 0-pointer would knock down a building and pretty much have debris fall on Uraraka, and he would see the girl, and what he would do is basically I know what he's gonna do. He has telekinesis too. I'm giving telekinesis from Chase. So he would pretty much use telekinesis to lift all the rocks over there, and he would use super speed to run over there because the 0-pointer's foot is about to crush her. And she's like, "What? You're gonna die if you..." And that's when he would go right in front of her and use a force field and tell her to crawl away, even if you can't run. And that's what she would do. And basically Deku kind of stick his head out and pretty much uses laser eyes to separate the leg from the upper body, so it would fall back and thus defeating it. So Deku would be praised by heroes, thinking, oh, I want that guy to be my sidekick. Pretty much people already have an idea in who they want to be pretty much to be in their internship, because they want to get the recognition for training that kid. And All Might, really not knowing him, would think it would be very, very suspicious that he would have multiple abilities. So Deku pretty much walking home at this point, and well, not really walking home. I guess he would. Yeah. I'll just say he's walking home after pretty much super speeding pretty much super speeding his way there, and he's pretty much walking there, and that's when he would see All Might, pretty All Might come around the corner, and since he has more time, All Might would basically tell him, well, well, hi, citizen, and what's your name, and pretty much try to take an interest in Deku, and Deku would tell him his name, and All Might would ask what was his quirk. And Deku would basically say, it's kind of complicated. And, All Might would say, yeah, I saw the entrance exam. And I saw you with laser eyes, super speed, super strength, telekinesis, force fields. Who, or should I say, how did you get this power? And Deku would say, my dad, and pretty much, trying to get out of this situation. Like, yeah, bye, All Might. I kind of gotta go. And pretty much All Might is trying to stop him and get an answer out of him. And Deku would pretty much trust All Might enough to explain the whole situation. And All Might would say, "What's the proof?" And he would pull out, like he would basically, like use his right arm, and he would basically push it in, or not push it in, but close his arm, and he would and it would make a click. And basically, it's a click. And if you've ever seen Labrats, you would know this scene where Leo has a pen in his arm, and that's basically what happens. He has a pen in his arm right now, so it's basically a click there every time he closes his arm. And All Might's like, oh really? Then All Might would just pass it off, but he's still suspicious. So when days later, when Deku is accepted, he pretty much comes to the school, and you'll see all the students walking by, and he would try to find Class 1A, pretty much using super speed. And pretty much, let's say Ida would see him as he's walking to school too, because he's a super speed, he's gonna be faster than everybody else. And Deku's kind of like, stop, and Ida is trying to like, stop running down the halls. And he's like, I don't care. And he's pretty much running down the halls with super speed, trying to find Class 1A. He kind of passes it for a bit, then he goes back and opens the door, and he would see Bakugou sitting there with his feet up. That's when Ida would follow along and try to get on Bakugou. They'd be like, oh, first thing, you're already disrespecting the school. Get your feet off the desk. All that bullshit. And Bakugou is pretty much like, you gotta stick up your ass, leave me alone. And Deku just walks by, don't even care. And that's, once he does get to his seat near the window, Uraraka would just come to him, because that's the guy that saved him, or saved her. And she would basically thank him, and she would ask him what was his quirk, and he would say, I kind of have multiple. And that would catch Todoroki's eyes, and I would catch a couple of people off guard as I have multiple quirks. And and that's when Ida would kind of budge into the conversation. So that would explain why you had super speed, super strength, and telekinesis, and a force field, and laser eyes. And Deku was like, yeah, but that's not all I can do. And I'm like, what, really? And he pretty much tell Uraraka to say something, and he would pretty much copy the exact same voice and tone. And we're like, what? Dang. That's when Aizawa would pretty much tell them to shut up and get outside. So once they do get outside, and they're pretty much chilling outside, and Aizawa would hand Deku the ball, and Deku would pretty much throw the ball at super strength levels, and he would get it for a good, fuck, 5,000 meters. And Deku would be like, yeah, I did pretty good. And he would continue on to get first place in each and every category until they get to the ball throw once again. He goes for a second time, and pretty much ever since the original first ball throw, Bakugou has pretty much been trying to antagonize him and bully him. And it was kind of catching up on Deku's anger. So Deku easily being angered while Bakugou is pretty much talking some shit. And while he's talking this shit, since Deku is angry, if one of them, if Adam, Bree, or Chase they would have too much of an emotion. If they were too happy, their powers would basically spaz out, and Deku would basically use heat vision on Bakugou, pretty much lasering him. And that's when he would throw the ball. And and he would get a higher score, a good 7,000. And pretty much everybody's like, dang, yeah, he did better. And Uraka would get the first place. And that's pretty much what happened for that first day. Deku is pretty much walking alone back to his house, and that's when Bakugou would go to stop him and try to bully him again, and Deku would pretty much go into he would pretty much turn into Spike. He would pretty much activate his Commando app. Basically, Commando app is basically something where it kind of gives you a good boost of power, which he didn't really need, but it gave him a good boost of power, but it kind of changes your personality too. But he would pretty much like, thank God no one else is here. And Batman, he would go into the Commando app, and his once green eyes would turn red, and he would stare at Bakugou with this angered look. And he would just look at Bakugou and says, You're trying to say that I'm weak? You can't even break a stick." And he would just basically grab Bakugou by his shirt and it starts beating him up. Like he pretty much kicked him inside of his and kicked him in his ribs, and he pretty much Bakugou started using his explosions. And Deku would literally use the Mimic app to basically, voice manipulation to basically sound like Bakugou, and basically bully him. So, oh yeah, my name is Bakugou, and I can't land not one hit on somebody in the fight. And Bakugou would pretty much get more angered, and Bakugou would go for an AP shot outside. That's when a car pretty much comes up upon the street and hits Bakugou. And a couple of minutes later, Deku would be out of the Commando app, and Bakugou would be pretty much in Deku's basement and pretty much getting healed and getting bionic powers. Not really bionic powers. He's just gonna have bionics to the point where he cannot have the injuries, so he can go home safe. And he only got hit by a car, so his mom was probably wondering where he was for a couple of hours, but he came back, and at this point he doesn't even know what went on. All he knows that Deku got angry, he started acting weird, and he got hit by a car. And No, that pretty much what happens. And no, for the next day, they pretty much come in to the class, and they're all wondering what they're gonna do today. And then that's when, All Might would come into the class and pretty much tell them about the hero versus villains. And that's when Deku and Uraka and in the other matches would be set up. Deku and Uraka would pretty much make the plan as you know as the plan was that to use gravity, zero gravity, to basically float to the top of the building. And that's she would basically float herself to the top of the building, and Deku would go from the bottom. And Uraka would be on the top of the building, and Deku would pretty much go on the first floor, and go on the second, and go on the third, and he would pretty much see Bakugou. And Bakugou says, "Okay, I'm coming for you, nerd." And Deku would just start trying to use his his powers, and he would pretty much just use super strength. I guess he'll use super strength on Bakugou as soon as he comes down. And since he did get hit in the car he kind of has a metal plate, and he pretty much hits him there, and his whole chest looks like it got indented. But his whole chest looked like it got indented. And then when the class sees this, they're like, "The fuck? How is he still standing?" And he pretty much uses super speed to disorient Bakugou and kick him in the ribs and keep on doing him dirty until Bakugou is no longer in the battle. He gets captured and Bakugou can't move just because of the rules. And Deku would pretty much speed up to the 5th floor, and he would see Todoroki, and he would see bad. So his plan is to make a big So he would put his hand behind his back, and he'd make a big ball of energy, and he would throw it straight at the ceiling, making a hole. And with all that dust, pretty much disorienting everybody except for Uraka, because she was outside of the building. She would be able to get in and touch the bomb, and once the smoke clears, it would pretty much say Hero Team win as soon as Todoroki would start using his ice. And he would look behind him. He would see Uraka pretty much hugging the bomb. He's like, "What?" And he would look up at the ceiling, and he would see the hole. He would realize the plan. And he says, not only is he powerful, but he's a genius. Damn. I'm definitely gonna have to beat him. And that's when Bakugou would get mad at Todoroki. Pretty much say, you had one job. They were even double teaming. And Todoroki would basically have an argument. Well, not really, because Todoroki would just fucking leave. So Todoroki just fucking leaves and doesn't talk to Bakugou. And Bakugou just leaves. Pretty much has just been left angry. And now All Might is pretty much asking who was the MVP. And Momo would pretty much explain the whole thing. It was Deku, because he basically made the plan. Plus, he took out Bakugou and pretty much disoriented Todoroki to the point where he would make he would be able to make an opening for his teammate to come and fuck shit up and hit the bomb. And All Might's pretty much like, yes. With Deku's plan and everything being well executed, everything got done quickly and safely. And that's pretty much going to be the end of this. Bye.